Some choices reveal more about you than a lifetime of analysis ever could, not because they are clever or rational or defensible, but because they happen before thought gets involved at all, before language steps in, before the mind rehearses reasons. Alan Watts often reminded us that the moment you try to explain yourself, you've already moved one step away from what is true. Truth is immediate, explanation is delayed. Right now, you're being invited into one of those immediate moments. In front of you are 4 horses. They are not symbols to be decoded, nor puzzles to be solved. They are invitations. Each one carries a different energy, a different rhythm, a different feeling in the body. Before your mind starts naming colors, assigning meanings, or searching for patterns, pause, take a breath. Let your attention soften. Notice which horse draws you in quietly, without effort, without argument. The one you don't choose, the one that chooses you. This is important. Do not think. The instant you analyze, you step out of the experience and into commentary. And commentary, as Watts would say, is not the thing itself. It is just talking about the thing. Life is not something you observe from a distance. You are it. The universe isn't happening somewhere else. It's happening as you. Alan Watts spoke often about how the deepest truths are not reached through effort, but through noticing. The mind loves to interfere, to compare, to justify. But the deeper intelligence, the one that breathes you, that beats your heart, that knows when to wake and when to sleep, doesn't speak in sentences. It speaks in attraction and aversion, in curiosity and resistance, in a subtle yes or no that appears before words. The horse you feel drawn to is not a random preference. It reflects the movement of energy in your life right now, not who you are in some fixed sense, but what is alive in you at this moment. Many people spend years trying to understand themselves by thinking harder, reading more, asking better questions. And yet insight often arrives when we stop trying to figure ourselves out and simply notice what we are already responding to. This is why this exercise works. It doesn't demand belief. It doesn't ask you to adopt a system. It simply bypasses the commentator in the head and invites awareness to rest where it already is. As you look at the horses, you might feel calm, or tension, or familiarity, or even discomfort. Don't correct these reactions. Don't try to improve them. Resistance, too, is part of the message. Sometimes what unsettles us is not wrong, it's relevant. Watts would often say that we are not separate from our experiences. We are not a thinker standing apart from thoughts or a chooser standing apart from choices. We are the whole process happening. The attraction you feel is not something you are doing. It's something that is happening as you. Once you've noticed which horse calls to you, hold that image lightly in awareness. Don't rush ahead. There is nowhere to get to. Each horse represents a different way consciousness relates to itself, through instinct, through stillness, through movement, or through what has been hidden. None of them is superior. None of them is a mistake. They are simply different expressions of the same underlying reality, the same dance appearing in different forms. This is not about predicting your future or labeling your personality. Watts had little patience for labels. Labels freeze what is fluid. This is about noticing which current is strongest in you right now, which rhythm you are moving to, whether you intended to or not. Awareness doesn't force change, it clarifies it. In the moments ahead, we will explore what your chosen horse reflects about the way you are meeting life. You may recognize yourself immediately, or you may feel unsettled as though something familiar has been named out loud. Both reactions are part of understanding. Clarity isn't always comfortable, but it is always liberating. Before we continue, make one quiet agreement with yourself. Stay open, not to be convinced, but to notice. What you are about to see may already be shaping your decisions, your relationships, and your sense of direction more than you realize. And if you feel inclined, pause for just a second and comment the number of the horse you chose, not to explain it, just to mark the moment. Sometimes acknowledging an experience is enough to let it deepen. Now, let's begin. If the first horse is the one that quietly drew you in, what you are responding to is not impulse, but immediacy. This horse reflects a life lived close to sensation, close to feeling, close to the raw movement of experience before it is filtered or refined. Alan Watts often spoke about how modern humans mistrust this level of immediacy. We've been trained to hesitate, to second guess, to stand back from life as if it was something dangerous to touch. And yet, all vitality flows from this direct contact. Those who feel pulled toward this horse tend to experience life intensely, not dramatically, but vividly. Emotions arrive fully formed. Joy is felt in the body. Anger has heat. Desire has weight. Sadness has texture. You don't hover above your experiences. You are inside them. From Watt's perspective, this is not immaturity or lack of control. It is aliveness, it is participation, it is the universe tasting itself through you. You may have been told implicitly or explicitly that you are too much, too sensitive, too reactive, too emotional. But sensitivity is not weakness, it is responsiveness. It means you are not numb. It means the boundary between you and life is permeable. When something moves, you move with it. When something matters, you feel it immediately, not after an internal debate. Watts would say that this closeness to instinct is actually closer to reality than most people realize. The intellect is a marvelous tool, but it is not the driver of the car. It's the dashboard. It reports, it comments, it interprets. But it does not generate motion. Instinct does, feeling does, life does. The mistake comes when we expect the dashboard to drive. At the same time, this horse reveals a real challenge. When immediacy runs unchecked, it can become exhausting. Constant intensity without awareness can burn energy quickly. Acting purely from feeling can bring moments of relief, followed by moments of regret. Not because feeling is wrong, but because it has not been listened to fully. Watts often pointed out that awareness is not suppression, it is inclusion. When you notice what you feel without being possessed by it, instinct becomes guidance instead of impulse. People drawn to this horse often carry a natural magnetism. Others feel your presence. You bring movement into stagnant situations simply by being willing to feel what others avoid. You remind people, often without meaning to, that life is not meant to be managed like a spreadsheet. It is meant to be lived. That quality makes you influential, even when you're not trying to lead. But your growth does not lie in cooling your fire. It lies in learning how to sit with it, to notice the surge of emotion without immediately turning it into action, to let feeling inform movement rather than dictate it. Watts would describe this as learning to surf rather than thrash in the water. The wave is not the problem, fighting it is. Ask yourself quietly, where in your life have you been explaining away what you feel instead of listening to it? Where have you learned to distrust your immediate response because it didn't fit someone else's expectations? Awareness is not asking you to change who you are. It is inviting you to recognize how much intelligence already lives in your body. Now, if instead the second horse drew your attention, the movement of your inner world is very different. This horse represents stillness, not emptiness, but depth. A quiet interior where experience is processed slowly, carefully, and often privately. You are someone who notices before reacting, who listens before speaking. While others rush to fill silence, you are comfortable letting it exist. For you, silence is not awkward. It is informative. Alan Watts often spoke about the power of still water. When the surface is calm, reflection becomes possible. People drawn to this horse tend to have a strong inner observer. You sense undercurrents. You pick up on shifts in tone, mood, and meaning that others overlook. This is not passivity, it is attentiveness. You may have learned early on that not everything needed to be said out loud, that some experiences were safer to process inwardly. Over time, this cultivated a rich inner life. You think deeply, you feel deeply, but you do so beneath the surface. Others may mistake this for distance, but it is actually care. You understand the weight of words, so you choose them carefully. The challenge here is subtle. When too much remains inside, it begins to settle, not dramatically but quietly. Unexpressed emotion doesn't disappear, it condenses. This can show up as unexplained fatigue, emotional heaviness, or a sense of disconnection even when life appears stable. Watts would say that energy needs movement, but movement doesn't always mean noise. Sometimes it means allowing what's inside to be witnessed. Your strength lies in presence. People often feel calmer around you, even if they can't explain why. You don't dominate space, you hold it. But awareness asks a gentle question of you. Who is allowed to see your inner world? Not everyone needs access, but someone should. Depth becomes wisdom only when it flows outward, even in small ways. As we continue, we'll look at the remaining horses. Those drawn to movement and transformation, and those drawn to what has been hidden. If any part of this resonated, you can quietly note it or share which horse you chose. Sometimes recognition itself is the beginning of balance. Let's keep going. If the third horse is the one that captured your attention, what you are responding to is movement itself. This horse carries the energy of change, transition, and the refusal to remain fixed. Alan Watts often reminded us that the universe is not a collection of things, but a process, a happening. And those drawn to this horse tend to feel that truth directly, not as an idea, but as a lived experience. You are someone who feels most alive when life is moving, when there is growth, exploration, and the sense that something new is unfolding. Routine can feel strangely heavy to you, not because you lack discipline, but because repetition without meaning feels like stagnation. You sense intuitively when a chapter of life has run its course, even if nothing appears wrong on the surface. While others may cling to familiarity for safety, you feel an inner pull toward evolution. Watts would say that this is an expression of nature itself. Everything in existence is in flux. Rivers flow, seasons turn, identities shift. Trying to freeze yourself into a permanent definition creates suffering. You are less interested in the question, who am I, and more attuned to what is happening now and what is emerging next. Your identity feels fluid, adaptive, responsive. People drawn to this horse often reinvent themselves more than once. New paths, new roles, new visions. From the outside, this can look inconsistent. From the inside, it feels necessary. You are not abandoning yourself, you are shedding what no longer fits. There is courage in this, even when it is misunderstood. Watts often spoke about the courage it takes to trust the process without demanding certainty from it. But this horse also reveals a delicate shadow. Constant movement can sometimes become a way of avoiding stillness. When change happens too quickly, it may not always be growth, it can be escape. Waiting can feel intolerable to you, not because you are impatient, but because stillness forces you to confront what movement keeps at a distance. There are moments when transformation requires pause, not motion. Your strength lies in adaptability. You recover quickly from loss. You are willing to step into the unknown. You don't cling to identities that have expired. This makes you resilient and inspiring. Others sense that you are not trapped by fear of change. But awareness invites a deeper question. Are you moving towards something, or simply moving away from discomfort? Watts would gently remind us that freedom is not the absence of commitment. It is the absence of illusion. True freedom comes from seeing clearly why we move, not from moving endlessly. When movement is guided by awareness, it becomes creative rather than restless. If this horse chose you, notice where in your life you feel the urge to rush ahead. Is there something asking to be completed before the next transformation begins? Growth does not disappear when you pause. Sometimes it deepens. Now, if instead the fourth horse is the one that drew you in, the energy you are responding to comes from a very different place. This horse represents what has been hidden, not because it is dark or wrong, but because it did not feel safe or welcome to express. Alan Watts often spoke about how society trains us to wear masks, to perform roles, to fragment ourselves in order to belong. Over time, parts of us are pushed out of awareness, not destroyed, just unseen. Those drawn to this horse often sensed early on that certain qualities within them were too intense, too sensitive, too independent, or too disruptive to be easily accepted. So those qualities were quieted, not erased, stored. What is hidden does not vanish. It waits. Watts would say that the illusion is believing you can divide yourself without consequence. The parts you disown continue to operate, but now from the background. They emerge through strong reactions, sudden anger, deep admiration, envy, or discomfort around certain people. These reactions are not accidents. They are signals. They point toward energy that has not yet been integrated. Choosing this horse suggests that you carry untapped strength, talents you minimize, boundaries you hesitate to enforce, truths you avoid speaking because they would require change. The hidden self often holds both fear and power when unacknowledged, can feel frightening. Yet, Watts was clear. Wholeness does not come from fixing yourself. It comes from realizing there was never anything missing. Integration is not about becoming someone else. It is about allowing what is already there to come back into view without judgment. When the hidden is seen, it no longer needs to sabotage from the shadows. You likely possess a deep capacity for empathy because you understand complexity from the inside. You have felt contradiction. You have lived with tension. This gives you insight that cannot be taught. But awareness asks you something in return. What are you still hiding to maintain harmony? What would shift if you allowed yourself to be seen as you are? As we move into the final part, we'll step back and look at what happens when these forces are no longer separated but understood together. If any of this resonated, you can share which horse you chose, or simply notice how it lands. Awareness begins exactly where you are. Let's complete the picture. Now that all four horses have revealed what they reflect, it becomes clear that none of them was meant to stand alone. Alan Watts often warned against mistaking a single pattern for the whole of reality. The moment we identify too strongly with one aspect of ourselves, we turn a living process into a fixed image. And life, as Watts reminded us again and again, does not hold still long enough to be captured that way. Your choice was not a verdict. It was a signal. Each horse represents a dominant movement of awareness in your life right now. Instinct, stillness, transformation, or what has been hidden. But no human being is composed of only one current. You are not a type. You are a flow. And suffering often begins when one movement is amplified while the others are ignored. Watts would describe this as the illusion of separation turning inward. When instinct operates without awareness, it becomes reaction instead of wisdom. When stillness exists without expression, it becomes isolation rather than depth. When transformation lacks grounding, it turns into restlessness. And when what is hidden remains unseen, it does not disappear. It expresses itself through conflict, projection, or quiet self-sabotage. The point of this reflection is not to correct yourself. It is to notice imbalance without judgment. Awareness does not scold. It illuminates. The moment you clearly see what is happening, the system begins to adjust on its own. Just as the body restores balance without instruction, consciousness does the same when it is allowed to see itself honestly. If you were drawn to instinct, integration means learning when to pause, not to suppress feeling, but to let awareness catch up with it. If you were drawn to stillness, integration means allowing selected expression, letting your inner world be shared without fear of collapse. If you were drawn to transformation, integration means recognizing when stillness is not stagnation, but preparation. And if you were drawn to what has been hidden, integration means reclaiming strength without shame, without apology, and without the need to dramatize it. What's often emphasized that life is not a problem to be solved, but a dance to be danced. You do not become whole by eliminating parts of yourself. You become whole by allowing the rhythm between them. When opposing movements are no longer at war, energy that was trapped in tension becomes available for living. This is why your choice mattered. Not because it predicts where you're going, but because it reveals what is shaping your experience right now. It shows you which current you are swimming in, often without realizing it. And once you see the current, you gain the freedom to move within it consciously, rather than being carried unconsciously. Take a moment and notice where you feel friction in your life. Where do you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or confused? Very often, these are places where one inner force is dominating while another is being neglected. Balance does not require control. It requires listening. As you move forward, you may begin to notice subtle moments when instinct rises, when silence calls, when change demands movement, or when something hidden asks to be acknowledged. These moments are not interruptions. They are invitations. Not to judge yourself, but to recognize yourself more clearly. And if this reflection resonated with you, you might gently share which horse you chose in the comments. Not to explain it, not to justify it, simply to acknowledge the moment. Sometimes naming an experience allows it to integrate naturally. Alan Watts would remind us that awareness is already complete. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be removed. The path forward is not about choosing the right horse. It is about realizing that you are the entire field in which all of them appear. And when that is seen, even briefly, life stops feeling like something you are trying to figure out and starts feeling like something you are finally participating in.